Okay. Hello and welcome back to Final Fantasy IX and Skyrim. I hit the button when I shouldn't have. I have already screwed up. But at least I got to sneak 50. I'm Circle Master. I'm a complete and total screw up. And we're grinding to level 99 in a couple of games. I've messed with the audio, although it was doing better. Now it seems kind of loud. So I'm gonna, real quick, accidentally screw up Skyrim, which is the best thing to do. Alright. So now we should have music. I don't know. Somebody's gonna have to tell me whether I've completely screwed up the audio or not. It may be that Skyrim cave sounds are now drowning out the music. But it's hard for me to judge because I have the volume turned down in my headphones. So somebody let me know, are you just hearing Skyrim cave sound or are you hearing the music behind it? Phone I didn't want you to open. I was just trying to dismiss notifications. I don't know. I was gonna talk about stuff, and now the sound thing has completely screwed me mentally. Now I'm just full of anxiety. You know what else fills me with anxiety? Competing desires to make bad financial decisions. That's pretty typical, though, if I'm being honest. I am, as usual, having a ton of anxiety about whether or not I should get a 3D printer. It is frustrating. What the hell? Discord on my phone has decided to log me out. It was very weird. Don't know what happened there. And now it's acting like I've never used Discord before. It's keep popping me up with, hey, do you know about this? Do you know about that? What about this and this and that? Yeah, we're off to a rockin' good start with this stream. Massive sound issue anxiety that may just exist in my own head. I don't even know if there's an actual problem or not. Then Discord's throwing me out of my account. This is just great. Everyone betray me. I fed up with this world. Yeah, I think after I'm done with Skyrim, I'm going to check out The Longing. Which seems to be a point-and-click adventure game that takes 400 days to complete. As in 400 real-time days. Hey, Genstuck. Please let me know if the sound sounds alright, or if the music is completely drowned out, or what. Because I can't tell, but I made adjustments. In the hopes that sound alerts would work better, and would be heard over the music instead of the music drowning out the sound alerts. Of course, right now it's not a good time because there's like no music right now. Hey, our Spectre. I would like some feedback on how the sound goes. Oh, cheat. No, I did not remember to call the neurologist. Ugh. FF9 is muted. You should not be hearing FF9 at all. There's supposed to be music playing, but I'm not hearing anything. And my media keys are not working. For whatever reason, my media keys don't work while OBS is open. Okay, now I'm hearing the music in my headphones. Genstuck, I'm sure you have channel points to spend on sound alerts. Like, you've been around long enough to have accumulated at least a couple channel points. And yeah, I did try making some of them paid with bits. I don't know if that even works or not. But there are ones that just cost channel points, and they're in the thing. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. I'm gonna give this a pause. I'm gonna nudge up. Alright, how is the music sounding now? It should be sounding better. As in, you should be able to hear it. Get our face buried in this rock again. I'm just worried that the next song's gonna roll over and it's gonna be super loud again. 'Cause I worry. I am, if nothing else, plagued with anxiety. Hey, thank you for the gift sub, our Spectre, and congratulations to Jen's Duck for receiving it. I don't know that that means that Jen's Duck has to stay, but you have a good night. How far up this rock am I going to climb? Or wall. I keep calling it a rock. It's supposed to be the cave wall. But it really just looks like a rock.
Hear ye, let the record show that this viewer was here first.
Yeah, I got it. I thought I fixed that notification thing on the overlay, but apparently I didn't. Also, that first sound alert is from my friend and fellow streamer, The Goog. And you should check out his streams Tuesdays and Fridays at twitch.tv/the_Goog. Goog. Oh, he also does what's it called? Mini motorways every morning at an ungodly hour because he's on the East Coast. You can't hear that music? Can you seriously not hear the music? Because it should be going. Still wandering. Okay, I will give it another nudge. Wake up, mouse. Is that better? Yeah, it's mostly just beat right now, unfortunately. I should have done the other playlist. It was just like 4 days in a row of classical. I was a little tired of classical. Whoa, that's too far. Things are going nuts. Hey, Bloodborne Souls. Can you hear the music that's playing? I'm questioning my own sanity at this point. No, my brain never works. Never ever. Why would you think it's Crab Battle when it's called Crab Rave? It's gonna be Crab Rave. I'm not gonna put like an entire song as a sound alert. At least I'm not gonna put an entire song as a sound alert that doesn't cost bits. I don't know. I don't know which ones I would be able to get away with. The music that I have is music that I have licensed, so I can legally play it. And then when Twitch tries to mute the audio, or YouTube tries to steal my money from monetization and the ads that they run on them, I can be like, no, I have a license, I'm allowed. It's my pennies of ad revenue. and then they have to let it go eventually. There's still one video with one claim that's hanging on. They're not letting that one go. It's kind of stupid. So yeah, Twitch, I'm more likely to get away with it than YouTube, but I'm absolutely not sure. Like, there would be nothing I could do if I use video game soundtrack and somebody claims it. Yes, there are many fights left. This is not a sprint, this is a marathon. And this isn't even a marathon, this is a siege. When Agamemnon attacked and besieged the city of Troy, it took 10 years. Oh, the emote? Thank you. The 99 was the first email. Jeez. Was the first emote that I put on my channel. But, like, Bloodborne Souls, you can hear the music, right? I'm still worried about it. Biblical history, you pick you can call out a page number, or you can... Yes, it's all under the umbrella electronic. I'm not enough of an electronic head to understand house versus other types. I don't know. I don't even know. I've heard like witch house and electro, and like these are just terms that I've heard. Anyway, biblical history, you basically call out a page number, and I will go to that page of Asimov's Guide to the Bible, which covers both Old and New Testament. And we'll read out something from that page about biblical history. And this is like historical and geographical context to events in the Bible. Like, the Bible tosses out a lot of names of places without explaining what they are, because to a contemporaneous reader, it would be common knowledge. Tosses out a lot of names of people with very little or skewed context as to who they are. So we'll go into the historical records on that. It is very much not about the Bible as a religious text and about the Bible as a historical record and document. Also, Isaac Asimov is like my favorite author. So, yeah. Well, I'm reading out of a book, so it's not impressive of my ability. It's impressive of Dr. Asimov's ability to write the book. I just read it. I just find it interesting. I also have... Nobody makes it to the end... No. The shout-out request in your silly voice. Well, there's two versions of that, I should point out. The cheaper one, I get to pick what silly voice I use. And in the more expensive one, you pick the silly voice I use, and I promise that I will screw it up because I'm not actually good at doing voices. But yeah, Bloodborne Souls, nobody makes it to the end of my stream VODs because... No, to the end of the VODs. When I put them up on YouTube, nobody watches them to the end. Because at the end of each stream for the past week or so, I don't know why I started doing it, but I've been adding in a secret word of the day and telling people if you're on YouTube and you watch this to the end, you post the secret word in your comment so that I know you got to the end of the video. And they don't even get any comments at all, so obviously nobody is doing that. It is a bare bones attempt to drive engagement that is so secret and so exclusive that nobody does it. I mean, even if I didn't use code words, I could just go into the YouTube analytics of the video and see, oh, nobody made it to the end. Everybody, the person who got the furthest, got to this point in the video and then stopped. But yeah, we've had a secret word of the day for a while now. And it's literally never come up. I have had people who have like been watching on Twitch when I do the secret word of the day, and then they just immediately post the word in the Twitch chat. And I'm like, that's not what I'm talking about. That doesn't count. I mean, we're talking about this, we're having this discussion like 30 minutes, 35-ish minutes into this video, and I bet nobody's even gonna get this far. Thoughts on the board game Monopoly? It's not great. It's a zero-sum game where you have to be a special kind of sociopath to sit through a 2-hour board game for the 25% chance that you're gonna be the one who gets to, do the happy dance and gloat in front of the rest of the group how you won the game. And 75% of the time have a miserable experience that leads to losing said game. And there are much better board games. Settlers of Catan is the classic example of don't play Monopoly, play this instead. Settlers of Catan sees each player like claiming spots on a board and collecting resources to build up more property. Can I type it? I have to pause Skyrim to type it. Where's my mouse? There it is. There you go, Settlers of Catan. It has similar principles to Monopoly, but actual strategy. And not entirely luck-based. It is partially luck-based, but not entirely. Every game that has dice or cards is partially luck-based. That is just the inevitability of games that use dice and cards, or any other source of randomization. There are pure strategy board games, and there are things like chess and Go. And there are solved board games like Tic-Tac-Toe and Connect 4, where optimal play leads to guaranteed outcomes. But Monopoly is among a large class of games that over-rely on randomness to the detriment of any potential strategy. Hello, Gexagan Formo. I cannot read Cyrillic, so I have no idea what you just said, but thank you for tuning in. Well, you have to gloat big time, because that's literally the only point in playing Monopoly, is gloating when you're winning. I have a controversial recommendation for if you like Monopoly and you have a group of friends who also like Monopoly, I'm going to recommend you try out Twilight Imperium, which is a very large, for a board game, very expensive, and very long, grand strategy game, where each player is a sci-fi alien race occupying a galaxy map, where each player starts on a home world on their respective corner of the map and then grows outward. You gobble up planets, you colonize planets instead of buying property. And you can attack other players and go to war with them to take their planets. But most of the time you don't want to do that. You want to threaten to do that, to get people to do things that you want them to do. Because if you build up your fleet of ships and you attack your neighbor's big fleet of ships, you might win, but you'll lose a lot of those ships. And your fleet will no longer be a big fleet, it will be a tiny fleet. And you know what? You've got a neighbor to the other side of you, and they've got a neighbor to the other side of them, and they're both going to look at you with your little fleet, and them with their no fleet, and then you will find yourself on the short end of a pillaging of territory that was once yours. It's very much a case of not the early bird getting the worm, but the second mouse getting the cheese. When two people fight, the rest of the table will look at them like vultures eyeing a carcass. And on top of this, you have technology that you're researching to make your ships better, or make your production better, or, you know, improve yourself in some fashion. And there are going to be votes on laws and edicts that you're going to be politically trying to figure out how to manipulate votes to get the outcomes there that you want, and get people to vote along with you, or at least just not oppose you. So there's all this politicking that goes on, and you spend so much time interacting with the other players in ways that Monopoly does not afford. Like, yeah, Monopoly, technically, you can trade properties around, but it basically never happens. Whereas in Twilight Imperium, you're constantly going to be making deals with your neighbors. And all of the stuff that I've talked about might win you the game. Because the way you win the game is by collecting victory points, but how you get victory points is almost never about fighting in combat. It's about colonizing planets. It's about having trade goods. It's about having production or influence or controlling certain planets or having researched certain technologies. And at the center of the galaxy, there's a special planet that's basically like Boardwalk and Monopoly. Everybody wants it. But unlike Monopoly, the first person who gets it won't necessarily get to keep it. So the first person who gets it might make themselves a target. But on the other hand, the first person who gets it might be able to benefit from that second mouse rule. It's like, let's say the player to your left gets the special planet first. And you're like, ooh, I'm going to get that special planet from him. But then your other neighbor also is looking at that and going, ooh, if they attack into the special planet, they'll be weakened. And then I can take the special planet. So in fear of your neighbor to the other side, you may not attack the special planet. And the person who has it may be able to keep it longer than they normally would. So, I love it as a grand strategy game. Where you are making deals and you are competing for territory and doing all these things. And trying to threaten people without actually getting into fights. And the real downside, aside from the fact that it costs like $150 to get a copy of the game, is that if you play with a full table of 6 players, you're looking at like 12 hours to finish the game. Especially your first few games when you're not 100% clear on the rules and you're having to look stuff up. Cards Against Humanity, Cards Against Humanity is fun for 5 minutes. The problem with Cards Against Humanity is that all the jokes are pre-written for you. And so all you're doing is picking cards that match or don't match. That was sneak popping off. That was not a level up. So there are games like Cards Against Humanity that I think are better than Cards Against Humanity. I think the one that I would recommend is called Fun Employed. It's unemployed, but with an F at the start, so it's Fun Employed. Where basically the judge, instead of turning over a sentence with a blank in it, they're turning over an occupation. And it's going to be like candy maker. And the judge is saying, I'm looking to hire a candy maker, and everybody tell me why you deserve the job. And you're going to go one by one. And then you've got hands of cards that have like traits on them. And you're going to pick like 2 or 3, I forget how many, I think it's 3. And you're basically going to explain why you are the best candidate for the job while incorporating your 3 chosen traits. So it might be like obsessed with appearance. So you need to like portray that in your interview with the judge. Yeah. Maybe you make constant innuendo or double entendre. So you're going to talk about packing fudge and, you know, how great your cake looks. Or it could be something like, here's voices in your head. So it's kind of, you have to improv the jokes as you go, but you have some kind of framework for it, which lets you be more creative and expressive, rather than, oh, I play a card and the card says big black dick on it. Isn't it funny? Because it says big black dick on it. And I happen to be the one who got that card. So I played it. Haha. So yeah, I recommend Fun Employed instead of Cards Against Humanity. Yes, that is it exactly. Yes, it did. The pop-offs will come slower and slower. It's probably gonna be about 4 hours before Sneak hits 100 again. I'm pretty sure we will level up before then. Bloodborne Souls, we've been over this. I have to not do that now out of spite, so I can stay motivated. I need that spite. It got me through Final Fantasy VII. I'm gonna need like 5 times more of it to get through Final Fantasy IX. Oh man, if Bloodborne Souls is secretly the backlogs, I'm gonna be so impressed. I don't think he is though. I think the backlog streams on YouTube. Well, that clinches it. Yeah, what's the second one called? Salt and Sacrifice, I think? I've never played either one. I only know that a YouTube channel called The Backlogs that did some entertaining Dark Souls challenge runs is a huge fan of Salt and Sanctuary and also super hyped for Salt and Sacrifice. Meanwhile, I've kind of done my best not to get hyped for anything anymore. I admittedly got hyped for Elden Ring. And it's fine. I just can't seem to bring myself to ever play it. I just kind of lost interest in it. Oh my goodness. Get your kid their own YouTube account. That way the algorithm will feed them the videos that are appropriate for kids. Like Frozen Spider-Man, Pregnant Elsa, Hulk, whatever nonsense, those clickbaity. They weren't even clickbaity, they were like SEO manipulators to make the weirdest videos that somehow got millions of views. That's what a 7-year-old should be watching, according to YouTube. Oh, I completely passed over it, but I was on 121212. That's as many as 3 12s, and that's terrible. That's not even how that goes. Just remember, just because it isn't funny doesn't mean it's not a joke. I'm guessing 2 more sneaks and we'll level up. Which would be perfect because that would mean we level up on sneak 69. The weed number. Alright, you take care of yourself, Jens Duck. Though I don't think you'll win any wrestling matches if you're suffering sleep paralysis. You kind of can't move in that instance. Still, good luck. Just think, what would Ric Flair do? Exactly. Oh no, not a back attack. Whatever shall I do? Oh, that's lame. I didn't get it on 69. It's 68. Weed neighbor. Oh, you know what I forgot? I forgot tonight's table topic. I'm so stupid. Let's take a look and see if we can have another good discussion about tonight's table topic. And tonight's table topic is Jedi or Sith? Jedi, TM, or Sith, TM. Now, this is a topic to which I can direct you to a particular video game, and those of you familiar with it already know what video game I'm gonna redirect you to. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2. For a philosophical examination of a character named Kreia. And the deconstruction of the Jedi-Sith dichotomy. Now, the Jedi philosophy is what Nietzsche would call slave morality. It is about the sacrifice of self for the sake of others to the point of self-destruction. And the original intention may have been a more Buddhist idea of destruction of self, where you are not literally trying to become a martyr so much as you are trying to rid yourself of attachment and desire tied to the fleeting material world in order to attain the immaterial world. The immaterial world being represented by the Force. And while that may have been the original concept, the original framework for it, by the time the prequel movies explored what Jedi philosophy meant, those ideas were kind of out the window. So what you were left with was the more commonplace idea of self-destruction, in that you are meant to sacrifice yourself your needs are secondary to the needs of those around you. And in fact, they even went beyond that, because the only thing that they really held to was not to form emotional attachment to other people. I know that they are composers. I don't remember what Hans Zimmer composed specifically. James Horner is probably most well known for the Star Trek movies. Star Trek 2, Star Trek 3. They've both done a lot of work composing film soundtracks, though. I've become completely sidetracked to what I was saying. I don't remember what I was talking about anymore. So I'm going to shortcut the discussion to where I was going to end up, because I don't remember where I left off or how I was going to get there from A to B. So we'll go right to B. The Jedi philosophy is obviously flawed, because students of the Jedi continue to fall to the dark side. The Jedi have existed for 1,000 years, / generations, / who knows, and they never figured that shit out. There was never any philosophical reform to cover the glaring shortcomings of the Jedi philosophy. Because they refused to see any shortcomings in the Jedi philosophy, they only saw shortcomings in the students. The Sith, on the other hand, are also a failed philosophy, because in their competition, or not even in their competition, but in their desire for strength, the enrichment of the self, what Nietzsche would call a master morality, in their pursuit of that, they go from trying to achieve power to reach their goals to achieve power for the sake of achieving power, which inevitably leads to competitions for power among themselves, which ultimately leads to their own destruction. Hence, the Sith being so wiped out that they have to implement rules that say there can only ever be 2 Sith, and even then, every Sith, there's only 2 of them, and they're still constantly killing each other. The apprentice inevitably challenges the master, and the master either kills the apprentice and starts over with a new one, or gets killed by the apprentice who becomes the new master, and the cycle continues. So that is clearly a failed philosophy, and after probably, like, according to the EU, which is no longer canon, the Jedi philosophy predates the Sith. The Sith were founded as an antithesis to the Jedi, which is kind of weird that slave morality would evolve before master morality. Usually it's the other way around. Historically, it's the other way around, I should say. I say usually as if society has had civilization, or as if there's more than one human in history to draw from, I should say. Anyway, Jedi and Sith are both flawed philosophies. If you have to subscribe to one, if you have to subscribe to one and you have mystical powers that make you a superhuman, if you have force powers, and you have to subscribe to one of these two philosophies, I'm going to recommend the Jedi philosophy, because we live in a society. The Sith do not live in a society. They live in a Hobbesian war of all against all. If you have force powers and you are free to choose your own philosophy, then try to come up with one. And if you do, and it works, maybe let people know about it. So that, because, you know, philosophical history hasn't actually produced an objectively correct philosophy yet. And if you do, you should probably write a book about it. As for the Hegelian dialectic that exists in Star Wars, because like I just said, the Sith were formed as an antithesis to the Jedi, who are the thesis. Normally, when two ideologies like that clash, there is what is known as synthesis, according to Hegel. And it doesn't necessarily mean that there is going to be a mutually exchanged ideology arising from them, so much as there will be an adaptation, there will be competition and adaptation, such that the surviving philosophy changes to adapt to that. And thus it will be a new and unique ideology representing the synthesis of the two competing ideas. That's not possible in Star Wars. Many people in the Star Wars fandom, especially during the EU era, with a brief resurgence before the release of Episode 8, based on the trailers of Episode 8, you know, if you remember, before Episode 8 actually came out, there was talk about what was called the Grey Jedi. The Grey Jedi is a conceptual idea of the fandom of the synthesis between light side and dark side. It's not fully light, it's not fully dark, it is gray. It takes the strengths from both ideologies while discarding the weaknesses. This is not possible in Star Wars, and Knights of the Old Republic 2 will tell you why. Except it won't, you have to infer why. They will talk about aspects of why, but they will never just fully lay out why. You have to put it together from lines that Kreia, the character I mentioned at the start of this, gives you. why the gray Jedi don't exist and can never exist. If you try to ride the line in the Star Wars universe between Jedi and Sith, if you are trying to be a force for good, like a Jedi, but humane, like the Sith, where you have emotions and emotional connections and, care about people outside of the abstract martyrdom that the Jedi do, one of two things will happen. One, you will find a cause or ideal for which you are willing to sacrifice yourself. You will go fully to the light side, fully into the self-destructive slave morality, and die fighting for something. Or you will find a connection to something, person, place, idea, whatever, for which you are not going to compromise your principles. You will do everything in your power to preserve this thing, including turning evil. You will fall to the dark side, and that's how you get, like Anakin is the classic. He formed a connection with the woman he loved. He was not willing to compromise his relationship with the woman he loved. He would do anything to save the woman he loved, including deciding, because somebody mentioned that it might someday be possible, butchering Jedi Masters and then children and whatever, falling to the dark side. Because he was uncompromising in his connection to his wife. I think they got married. One of those two things will inevitably happen. You will fall to the dark side, or you will succumb to the light side and sacrifice yourself. The alternative that you may try to adopt in an attempt to stay in the middle is complete apathy, where you are unwilling to sacrifice yourself for anything, and you are unwilling to form a connection with anything, thus avoiding the fall to the dark or to the light. In which case you will sit and do nothing until the day you die, so you might as well already be dead. If you try to espouse this view in-game to Kreia, she will repeat, apathy is death. If you try to maintain it in the face of that, she will, mind control every character present to repeat to you, apathy is death, to drive the point home. That doing literally nothing means you might as well be dead, because you are not doing anything. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it, Mush. I'm not sure if I should spoil the ending, because the ending touches on why this is the case in the Star Wars universe, that the middle path is untreadable. Alright, I will not say anything specific to the game, but the meta reason why this is impossible is because Star Wars is a narrative. Star Wars is a universe in which good fights evil for all time. And sometimes good is in the ascendant, as at the start of the prequels, and sometimes evil is in the ascendant, as in the start of the original trilogy. But they will always be ideologically opposed, and there will never be synthesis between them. Specifically so that stories can always be written about good versus evil. There is an infinite font of narratives possible, which is why it's so disappointing that Disney wrote the sequel trilogy to just retread the same ground as the original trilogy, but worse. And I need to heal. Yeah, like, logistically, the issue with the new trilogy is that Disney had no plan. But I'm talking about narratively. I still don't know why or how Disney came to the decision that they would take the $4 billion franchise that they just purchased, that has 30 years, almost, I think it was almost 30 years at that point. I don't remember what year Force Awakens came out. Whether it came out in... It must have been after 2009, yeah. I'm pretty sure we were more than 30 years of Star Wars. Yeah, that would be 2007, actually. So yeah, it was definitely more than 30 years of Star Wars. They have this prized intellectual property with a huge, loyal, built-in audience. That operates in trilogies. The original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, they decide to do a sequel trilogy, and they decide to just wing it. They decide that they're gonna hire different filmmakers for each of the 3 movies and give each filmmaker creative control of their own movie and just go, it'll work out. What could go wrong? I don't know. I haven't watched. I watched the first episode of The Mandalorian. The first episode of the first season. And it was good. But from all that I'd heard about how Baby Yoda is such a meme, it wasn't good enough to compel me to watch beyond that. And then I've heard nothing but bad things about Book of Boba Fett. So I never bothered to watch that. And when I say watch, I mean I don't have Disney Plus, so I would be downloading it from the internet. But narratively, the biggest problem with the sequel trilogy, from a narrative perspective, forget the behind the scenes, the filmmaking side of it. I'm talking from the story side of it. The biggest problem was Snoke. Because they wanted to basically redo the original trilogy. They wanted to have that nostalgia and the good feelings, and they wanted to recreate the success of the original trilogy. The original trilogy starts with the bad guys, with the dark side in ascendant. Evil is ascendant. And the small upstart rebellion of good has to grow to fight it. They are the underdog. So you end the original trilogy, good is ascendant. Good is triumphed over evil. They wanted to get back to evil starting ascendant in the form of the First Order. But they never explained any of it. And the biggest problem was Snoke. And Snoke was supposed to be analogous to the Emperor. And the problem with that is that when you have Star Wars, A New Hope, the first movie, and you just cold open on Empire is the strongest, Empire is in power, you can just have the Emperor there as the bad guy. And you don't need to explain how he came into power. You don't need to explain how evil became ascendant, because you're taking it as written, because it's the only material present that evil is ascendant. That's the status quo. The status quo is Emperor on top, rebellion underdog. At the end of that trilogy, good is now ascendant. Good is status quo. But they didn't want to write a story about evil underdog, so they just skipped right to evil ascendant. And they inserted the character of Snoke to be the analog of the Emperor. He's the head of the evil that is ascendant, therefore he's powerful. But you have to explain it though, because we've seen, the last we saw was good was ascendant, and now all of a sudden evil is ascendant. And Snoke had to drive that action. Snoke did something to become Ascendant. Snoke did something to corrupt Ben Solo and turn him to the dark side. Snoke did something to form the First Order and take over the galaxy somehow and build the Starkiller base somehow. You need to justify Snoke's existence. You cannot take Snoke as written. He's just there. That doesn't work. But that's what they did. And that's why, after episode 7, with the, 2 brief scenes of hologram Snoke, who's clearly been driving all of the action that we haven't seen because they skipped over 30 years. Snoke is the most important character in The Force Awakens. He's the most important character. That's why, after episode 7, everybody was like, who's Snoke? What's the deal with Snoke? What's Snoke's reveal gonna be? What's his backstory? Is he the Emperor? Is he a clone of the Emperor? Is he the Emperor's apprentice? Is he Darth Plagueis? All kinds of Snoke theories. And that's why people were printing the t-shirts with "Your Snoke theory sucks," because everybody had a Snoke theory. And the shirt was like, mine's better than yours. Rian Johnson took that "Your Snoke theory sucks" and completely, I don't know if he misinterpreted it or just didn't care or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, he didn't like the fact that so many people were invested in the movie that he was making. Don't ask me why. But he had to make a sequel to a wildly popular movie, and he resented that fact. So rather than coming up with his own Snoke theory, he could have looked at all the Snoke theories and been like, how do I make all of you be wrong? And come up with a Snoke theory that he could make canon. That maybe Snoke is literally just a hologram, and it's a robot using force fields and whatever, and it's now an evil AI, and it's taken over ships. That's how it took over the galaxy. It literally, yeah. His quote with Snoke wasn't interesting to me. So he didn't it was a matter of he didn't understand or he didn't care. That's what I'm saying. So he took what had to be the most important character in the entire sequel trilogy and removed him from the story without explanation. He had, It's just, you have to wonder why he took the job. He clearly didn't care. Why did he take the job? How did he not know that he couldn't just make this a paycheck film? And how did Disney not know that he saw it as just a paycheck film? We don't know. We'll never know, because they'll never admit it. Disney will never admit that they made any mistake in the creation of the sequel trilogy. And Rian Johnson is too much of an egotist to even acknowledge criticism. So there will never be any explanation for any of this. And it was possible. It was possible to make episode 9 bring it back around. No, there was never, like, when they were filming 7, there was no plan for 8. There was no plan for anything. But it was possible for episode 9 to bring it back around. But they didn't. Because instead of following the quote-unquote plan of having 3 different directors for 3 different films, Disney panicked and was like, J.J. Abrams, you made the movie that made the money. Please make the last movie so we can get money again. And J.J. Abrams clearly didn't want to make that movie. So he basically crammed all the ideas that he had for sequels while making 7 into one movie, when it absolutely needed to be 2, and just kind of did his best to not acknowledge anything that happened in 8. And then I guess at the end Palpatine's back, because he's immortal, or clones, or something, and Rey is his granddaughter because Palpatine fucked at some point, we guess. Which kind of blows the theories of Palpatine being responsible for Anakin's birth out of the water, because he just fucks. He doesn't need to do the create life with midichlorians thing. And then spaceships that have Death Star lasers and no crew. And it was all stupid. It was pure stupid. It's just stupid. I should point out, after episode 8 came out, on that website where Dick Tree came from, where the original Final Fantasy VII grind came from, that website, On that website, there was a thread that was given, like, how do you write episode 9 to save Star Wars? Hard mode, no retconning 8. And I got an idea in my head on that. And it germinated for a little bit, and I couldn't get it out of my head. So if you go on my Patreon, and if you're a Patreon patron, you will find a link to a video of my idea for episode 9 to save Star Wars, no retcons. And it's very half-formed, and it's clearly right after my migraine started because I can barely form sentences. But it's there, and you can hear my thoughts on how to save Star Wars Episode 9. And then Episode 9 came out, and it's just stupid. And now there's nothing left to save. So yeah, patreon.com/circlemaster. Skyrim. We're really high up this rock. Like, let's turn that off and sink back to Earth. I'm just getting wailed on in Final Fantasy IX. That's what happened. Whoa, 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 whoa. Don't do that. Don't do that, Skyrim. You know better. Come on. Settle in. There we go. So yeah, they should have hired me to work on Star Wars Episode 9, but they never would have. And also, never would have known. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. But the sad thing is, like, there were probably millions of fans who had better ideas for Episode 9 than what they wrote. And you probably could have grabbed any one of them. There was, I remember this Whitest Kids You Know sketch. And this was after the prequel trilogy came out and, like, the backlash against it had started. So everybody was hating on the prequels. So they do this sketch where, like, George Lucas goes on the internet for, like, the first time or something. Goes to a Star Wars fan site and some dude just starts talking to him like, hey, are you really George Lucas, blah, blah, blah. And he's just like giving the simplest, dumbest ideas for what to do with Star Wars. It's like, I've been thinking about writing a Star Wars Episode 7, but I'm not sure what it should be about because episodes 1 and 2 and 3 weren't as well received as I would have liked, and what do you think I should do? It's like, oh, you should have another Death Star. Another Death Star? Yeah. Where would there be another Death Star? Oh, the Empire builds another Death Star. Wow, third Death Star by the Empire. But the Emperor was destroyed. Who would be the villain of this movie? I don't know, Princess Leia. What? She's a good guy. How would she be a bad guy? Oh, she falls to the dark side. And it's like this whole sketch about how George Lucas is blown away by these simplistic ideas for Star Wars sequels. And he like has a heart attack and dies or something. And his last words are like, give the franchise to Dubro 420, whatever the online handle of this guy was. And then he goes on, it's like, Star Wars Episode 7 flops. Still considered 4th best movie. Honestly, if they just did that for 9, like, they could have grabbed any random person with their terrible ideas, and it still would have been better than Episode 9 that we got. Well, I think that I need to get some sleep. But before I get some sleep, I need to get back and save the game and do all that other stuff. If you're watching on YouTube and you've made it this far, the secret word of today is perspective. If you post a comment and use the word perspective, and I'll know you made it to the end of the video. And nobody will do that because nobody ever makes it to the end of my videos. Such is life. We'll go ahead and heal up and do our... Whoop. Well, no, I did heal up all the way. I completely was just on autopilot there. We'll get rid of all this crap. And of course, save the game with our lovely purple clock, which might be pink, I'm not sure. Post in the comments if you think the clock is pink or purple. Who can say? On my very much darkened television, for the sake of my vision, and migraines, it looks very purple, but it might be pink on your screen that's not on 0 brightness, 0 contrast. But now that I'm on 0 energy, it is time to say goodnight. So thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, take care.